The monthly CPI came in at 2.1% in the year to October, at the bottom of the RBA's 2 to 3% target band. So why is the RBA not cutting interest rates? To understand why, it is not just about the special factors that are driving CPI down, but also the construction of the monthly CPI and why it is different to the quarterly CPI. First off, there are the well-highlighted cost of living assistance that is driving down inflation. In particular, the various state and federal government energy rebates. As these rebates directly lower power bills, they have resulted in electricity prices falling 36% in the year to October. Why this matters is the rebates are only temporary, with the last payment being made around July 2025. As the rebates expire, then prices jump back to where they would have been without those rebates. It is for this reason we expect inflation to jump back to 3.3% at the end of 2025. We have estimated that these energy rebates are shaving at least 0.5% off inflation in the year to September. And they are set to add back close to 0.75% to inflation at the end of 2025. The RBA is fully aware of this, and as electricity prices are excluded from the trim mean, their preferred measure of core inflation, they will use this measure to look through this volatility. In October, the monthly trim mean was reported to be running at 3.5% year pace, still above the top of the RBA's target band. However, it is important to note that the monthly CPI and the monthly trim mean have been very poor guides to the quarterly CPI. And the reason for this is hinted in the official name of the monthly CPI. The ABS labels it the monthly CPI indicator. The ABS has tagged it as an indicator, as at this stage at least, it's only a partial guide to the CPI rather than a full leading indicator. The monthly CPI indicator is not fully constructed monthly inflation measure, but rather is the release of price data in the month that it's surveyed. For the moment, about 60% of the data is surveyed monthly. Some is even done weekly, with the rest surveyed only once a quarter or even less than that. There are even prices, such as education and property, rates and taxes, which tend to be only adjusted once a year. All this data flows into the monthly indicator in the month that it's surveyed. Contrast this with the quarterly CPI, where the same data will appear in the quarter of the survey. It is for this reason that a simple 3-month average of the monthly CPI indicator does not equal the quarterly CPI. It is also why the ABS highlights the annual rates of growth and not the monthly change in the CPI, even though this data is available in the full release. It is for the same reason we see the annual rates of growth reported from the monthly CPI being more volatile than those reported in the quarterly CPI. This is not to say there is no value in the monthly CPI indicator. As it is the release of price data as it becomes available, it is a powerful partial indicator of the quarterly CPI. It provides an important early release of much of the price data needed to estimate the next quarterly CPI, and much of this data is not available anywhere else. We start still crunching those numbers from the October release and working out the profile for prices in November and December to fine-tune our December quarter CPI estimate. However, at this stage, as reported in our note on the October monthly CPI indicator, there is a clear downside risk to our current estimate of 0.3 increase in the quarter, which would see the annual pace drop for the CPI from 2.8 to 2.5. For the trim mean, the risks are not quite that clear, but we can note that our current estimate is for a soft 0.6. That is, at 2 decimal places, it's just 0.56. So it's much easier to round down to 0.5 than it is to round up to 0.7. A 0.5% increase in the trim mean would take the annual pace down to 3.2% from 3.5%. Now that is still above the RBA's target band, and while a 0.5% increase suggests the pace can quickly fall back within the band, as the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, noted in her speech last night, one number is not a trend, and they'd like to be confident that inflation can be sustained within the band and not just bounce in and out. For that, they need to see just more than just one soft inflation print.
The content of this recording is informational and of general nature only, and is not intended to constitute a research report or reflect any recommendation or financial advice. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs, and investment decisions should not be based on it. You should obtain your own independent advice before proceeding with any investment decision. Whilst every effort has been taken to ensure that the contents are correct and any opinions, forecasts, conclusions are reasonably held based on information at the date of recording, Westpac does not make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or information contained in this recording, and any liability therefore is expressly disclaimed to the extent permitted by law. None of the material included in this recording should be copied, published or reproduced in whole or in part without the prior written permission of Westpac.